Ooh, I got a workout coming up after this, Alex, and I'm still looking into finding myself a gym.
A
What do you
CrossFit?
CrossFit gym? Yeah, Alex Miranda on the show today, CEO at Virtrify. Welcome to the show, Alex.
Thank you, brother.
It was great meeting you. Alex is one of those guys that you meet for the first time and it feels like that you've known him for a really, really long time because he brings that personality and that energy to every conversation that he has. And I'm really excited to be talking to you today. Alex, you want to briefly introduce yourself?
Yeah, Alex Miranda. I have an agency as well, a branding agency, digital marketing as well. Um, and I also have a virtual staffing agency. So I guess kind of, don't we have the same story? We both have digital agencies and virtual staffing agencies, right?
Yeah, yeah. My agency is probably not as active as yours now, 3 years into RepStack, but yeah, very similar stories. This is kind of how you started out, and I'll let you explain your story as well. But I also want to point out that it may seem that we do the same thing, but there's like you always want to go with a mindset of abundance, and I feel that Alex has a great service for the right client and the right business, he's got the perfect solution. And I'm really interested in the story, and I'm really interested in how you built out this amazing team, Alex. Why don't you give us a brief background on how you started out with your agency and
Yeah.
how you transitioned into Virtrify?
Yeah, as a generalist agency owner, um, I would do branding and marketing for my clients. And at some point, I uncovered that I could be hiring employees in the Philippines. That's how in like 2008, someone told me that because I was struggling to find graphic designers here in Miami,
Hmm.
and they were like $20 an hour, right? $25 an hour, and they were sitting here in my office, like populating desk space. And someone told me you can go to the Philippines and get some graphic designers, and I'm like, really? And so that set my agency off in a trajectory of going 100% virtual.
Hmm.
All of my project manager, account manager, graphic designers, web developer, everybody went virtual, and I just stayed as the owner, the only employee really in the United States. But then my clients started asking me, hey, I know your guy isn't in the US. How are you doing this? And
Hmm.
that's when the light bulb went off, the entrepreneur in me. Like,
Hmm.
wait up a second. I'm doing something pretty innovative here. I'm going 100% virtual using international people, and other companies don't think the way I'm thinking, or maybe their companies aren't set up the way mine is. Um, so I'm like, yeah, I can help you out finding, doing this too. So I casually started placing people that I knew I could get them, and making a little bit of money on that placement, on that spread, right?
Hmm.
But I wasn't charging a monthly. I was like, hey, I'm going to charge you to find this person, right?
Like a traditional recruitment company.
There, exactly. But then I'm like, wait up a second, because they
Hmm.
kept coming back to me. As I think we can share this common problem here. Like, you can give someone a virtual staff person and sell them the dream, but unless you know how to manage them and create SOPs around them and really, be able to monitor them, it could really fail. Like, it could
Yeah.
just turn out to be a complete failure. So guess what? I'm placing these people, but then my own clients are calling me back saying, yo, your guy's not working. I'm like, my guy? That's your guy. I found you the person. I did my job. That's your employee. And like, no, blah, blah. So I'm like, you know what? I can't just hand over a person.
Hmm.
I got to give them someone that I can oversee or I can train up. And that's when the light bulb then went off about being instead of a recruiter, a virtual staffing agency. and that service that we provide in the middle that's so stinking important, which is that we can go out, we can recruit, we can find, we can bring, but we can also manage. We can manage their hours. We can make sure they're being productive. We can make sure they're taking the right training. We can make sure their internet works correctly, that their computers turn on, that the electricity is running. And guess what? If it's not running and it's not working out, we can just replace them because we have SOPs set up for the people. So the virtual staffing agency model also meant recurring revenue, which then you can really build a business, right? When I was just finding and recruiting, they were actually paying my agency, my branding agency, my fee. But now I could build an entire business on recurring revenue because I was staying in the middle. They were client paying me, I'm paying the person. But I'm adding value in the middle, and I'm keeping my percentage because that's the value that I add. I deserve that in the middle. So that's kind of how I transitioned, I guess, or evolved, or and by the way, I kept my agency. Like, I still have my agency. I run, but guess what? It runs 100% virtual. I even hired a president. Like, a virtual person from another country is the president of my agency. And they're the ones that are taking all the courses on how to run and manage and grow the agency. They are hiring there, and I'm just showing up to a 1-hour call on Wednesdays. So I just had the call, and I'm visioning and just saying, hey, this is good, this is not good. But it leaves me with the time to be able to give to Virtrify, which is my bigger company.
That's awesome, man. That's a great story. So tell me this, like, how long have you been running Virtrify, and how big is the team now?
2016 is when we started. So I think yours runs a similar way, where in Venezuela, mine's in Venezuela. That's where I actually have a recruitment office with employees, with people over there. They're just all day long recruiting, all day long, and account managing. And so that office has 6 employees that run that office in Caracas, Venezuela. Over here in the United States, it's just me and my partner. Like, when I don't have W-2 employees over here, me and my partner do the business development side of things. And so we've got 6-7 employees full time running the business, let's say, of it. I've got 2,500 people that want to work, right? So sure, same with you. You got a lot more people that want to work than we have clients, right? Which is good, because you want the big pool of people to pull from. When a client calls and they say they want this person, you want to be able to pull from a good pool. Current clients, I think we're at 87 clients with 130 something virtual team members.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, and we already passed the 7-figure mark. We passed it during COVID. COVID really blew us up. We were already a virtual staffing agency in 2016. So by the time COVID came around, we were ready. We were like, where you been the whole time? We've been telling you to go virtual. And of course, it took a pandemic to really teach a lot of entrepreneurs that your business can run virtual. You don't need to be, micromanaging your employees at your office anymore. And so, yeah, COVID really propelled our businesses. I'm sure it did for you too.
Yeah. So, and my other question is, what sort of businesses are your people placed in? And maybe talk to me a little bit about the type of businesses and type of roles that these guys are doing.
That's a good question. I'll answer that in a second, but just between me and you, the same thing that we are in with Seven Figure Agency, where we pick a niche, right? Like I pick charter schools. So my branding and marketing agency only does for charter schools. Josh does it for plumbers, right? Everyone's picking their niche. I picked my niche. In our world, it's going to happen the same way.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, right now, I am a generalist virtual staffing agency. Okay. There will come a day, brother, where we'll have to pick a niche and just be in that niche and just go hard. Because why? Because just like anyone can start a digital marketing agency, it's not that difficult to start a virtual staffing agency. It just you do need boots on the ground in whatever country you're in. And I would say that my niche, then my focus is Latin America, because Venezuela is where my people come from, right? So we recruit out of Venezuela. Our people are bilingual. So my sort of virtual staffing agency uniqueness, I guess, it's like, hey, we find you Latin American people in this time zone. Now, if I looked at a graph of my clients, digital marketing agency owners are double, triple of the clients. But that's because digital marketing agencies as a whole, we started using virtual assistants back in 2008, 2007.
Yeah.
So digital marketing agencies in general, they've already been doing virtual staffing. So that's
a lot easier.
Doctors are just getting started with this. We just staffed a surgical coordinator for a doctor.
Nice.
Construction companies are just getting started with this. By the way, those two industries that are very, very office-based, very old school, very like I need to see my employee and touch and feel their shoulders, and breathe over them and make sure they're working. And so, but in between there, what did we see over COVID? A big boom in real estate virtual assistants, right? Mortgage brokers, realtors, huge boom. Why? Because they all of a sudden had a whole bunch of business and they needed help with it. So the industries follow sort of the adaptation of who has adopted to virtual teams. Started with digital marketing agencies, and now it's moving into industries that we never thought were going to go virtual, but they are. Medical
and I
next
feel
big frontier.
I feel that's the biggest opportunity here because, the blue ocean strategy, basically you pick where, there's nobody competing with you. And like you mentioned, for example, the construction industry, traditionally a face-to-face, hands on your shoulder kind of industry. But now we're figuring out that there is so many roles that can be outsourced, especially this COVID thing has kind of opened our eyes. Like you mentioned, people going through on the real estate side. Traditionally, these real estate offices would be like plugged in with a central person sitting at the office, booking calls for all these realtors and things like that. And all of a sudden, they realize that, hey, this person's been working from home for the 1 year. There's definitely costs that can be saved. Like I can probably hire 4 more people like this for the same price and have a lot more calls going out for all my realtors, and have a better impact, right? So like we didn't realize this, but all of them are like really great, and it's great to see that you have experience. The bulk of your experience on the marketing agency side, that's good and great, but you're also successfully placing these people in these different niches where I see there's a lot of opportunity, man.
Huge opportunity.
And you mentioned like a surgical coordinator, like that's a great role, man. Like imagine, like, that takes a lot of courage to outsource that kind of person. But what are some of the other roles that your people are involved in right now?
Where I just got out of a meeting with a glass and glazing contractor. They install windows, windows and doors in houses and commercial projects. And just blew their mind that the customer service person that takes in the calls can be somewhere else. The person involved with checking up on permits checking up on the warranties of those windows. You no longer needed that person in the office to do it anymore. Online reputation management, that was an easy one. But the cool one is the person who's doing the shop drawings, the blueprints that get submitted into the county for approval for permitting. We're hiring an architect in Venezuela to handle that.
Nice.
So the person that was being paid $50 an hour here is now going to get paid $16 an hour in Venezuela. So I get out of this meeting with this CEO. I'm in the meeting with the CEO, the owner, right? And he's over here next to me. And he's like, stop. He calls in his COO, so the operations guy. And he's like, you got to listen to this guy, man. He can revolutionize our business. And so I start talking to him and I'm like, guys, you don't have to do these roles anymore. And that expansion to the other building, because they're tearing down a wall in their warehouse. Why? Because they need more desks. He's like, now he's saying to himself, I don't need as many desks anymore. So now it starts to become, when you go virtual, everything changes because the layout of your office now changes because you don't need as many desks for people. So your business can scale without your business having to expand physically. And he was telling me this, I'll leave it at this, that he was paying $20 an hour for this customer service person, but he has to pay payroll taxes. He's got to pay insurance. He's got to pay these things, which actually makes a $20 an hour employee more like $23 an hour.
Yeah.
So I'm going to find him a $12 an hour person. So guess what? I just saved him 50%, which if you keep going down the line of all of his admin staff, the people that physically work on his office but aren't at a job installing windows, right? Not the physical labor, but the back office support staff. If he can reduce that by 50%, how much more profitable will this guy be?
I don't think we think about that enough because so many of us, especially the small businesses, even medium businesses, large businesses, we struggle with revenues and the cash flow and all of that stuff. And the big chunk of our P&L is always going to be your human resource expense. And just doing this math with someone who has, for example, a 10-person team and moving just 3 people out to a company like yours or RepStack, that's like, with some estimates, when I calculated this, that's like $110,000 a year. Imagine what you can do with that $110,000. And now you go from 70% team in States to maybe 50-50 ratio. And, that's around $300,000 that you're saving, and so on and on. So there's a lot of money that you can save that now you can put towards other things like marketing, other things that you think that you should have invested, like coaching and masterminding, which is and we're always spending the loss on the growth of the business. But now you can take some of this money, have the same quality of results, and because you're going to have checks and balances from your US teams in most cases, this is going to be a no-brainer. But there's so many aspects to looking at it. And, like where I get this thing most from, this question or hang up that, hey, I want to have all of my people in America and support the local economy. And I get that, man. Like, I understand where you're coming from, but my concern on that is that, all these big companies, they've already figured out these things. They're already doing it. 20 years ago, they had call centers in India and Pakistan and Mexico, and they're already doing it. They don't care what you think, right? Like made in America or not. They're really caring that this business has to survive. This is going to be a generational business that's going to deliver and deliver and deliver. But, but here we are, the small guys, we still have this mental hang up that, hey, I want to make sure that I create these 10 jobs in Atlanta, and I have no money to spend on my marketing. I have no money on expanding my own business. Everything is going towards this payroll. Like, just be a little smart about it. don't have to do all of your team outsource, but just strategically removing some of these to offshore or global teams, it's going to be so much incredibly beneficial in every way. What are your thoughts on that, Alex?
I look there. That whole sentiment of like made in America, I get it, and it's awesome. But at the end of the day, brother, the entrepreneur is going to prefer their well-being, their living, and
Hmm.
I'm all about Americans having jobs, great, but guess what? We're in a country where there's so much opportunity to excel, to be better. Um, we're also seeing the phenomenon of the world just becoming so much smaller. Look,
Hmm.
you and I would have never met before,
Hmm.
but now we're on a podcast together.
Yep.
You know, and you're in Canada, I'm in the US, you got a brother in Pakistan. We're all one, but we're all one. We're all talking. And
Yeah.
so it's the world is also becoming one. So these walls that may have been a thing in the past are absolutely shattered now, and it's all different, and it's all now just one global economy that we get to enjoy. Now it's about figuring out how do we manage this and maneuver this. um
I'll, and I think to add to that, Sean Clark was on my podcast and he told me a secret. He's like, I feel like I'd ask him about hiring globally. And recently, Varun was on my podcast, the other co-founder. And last time I talked to these guys were at 180 people. That was about a year and a half ago. Guess how many people they have now? It's
400.
850 people, Alex, over the last year and a half. These guys hired, and majority of these people are outside the U.S. And I asked him, like, this is about a year and a half ago, and I'm like, how do you manage this? Like, what do you think of this of hiring globally? He's like, I feel like I know a secret that I can hire the best talent from the around the globe, and it doesn't have to be in the U.S. And it's like not everybody's doing it, but I'm doing it really successfully, and these guys are doing it really successful. Like high level, all of us. Like I don't know if you use it. I know you probably
I
use
do.
it, and a lot of your clients are probably using it. About 90% of our clients and our people work inside high level every single day. And this is a company with some estimates that's 5-year old company, which is $1 billion evaluation already. And these guys have about, if I had to take a rough estimate, about at least 60% of their workforce is global. If 40% of them is in the US. So, like we trust and we work with this company every single day. These guys are doing phenomenal. They're delivering a great product. They got all of this stuff and they're doing it. And we still have this hang up that, oh no, man, it's not, what are other people going to think about me? Think about your business, right? Like your business comes first and you come first, and then if the business is not around, nothing's going to be around. So that
By the
was,
way, I don't think people think that way anymore, man. I'm pretty good
man,
at like the the pulse of like overall sentiment, and I just don't think people think that way anymore.
let me ask you this. Let me ask you that. When was the last time somebody asked you this question? Hey, Alex, I love everything you're saying, but my clients, they want somebody from the US to talk to them. Have you had that question before, and what's your answer to that?
I haven't had to have that conversation, and I'm going to tell you why. Is because there is a stigma against an Indian accent versus a Latino accent.
Hmm.
It is what it is. It was brought up through the call centers. They
Hmm.
even made a freaking show about it, right?
Yeah.
So it became a joke, like just a thing, right? And so that is still part of our generation. That stigma of the accent, right?
Hmm.
When will that disappear? I have no idea, no clue, right? It's certainly bound to disappear one day, just
Yeah.
like all other racist remarks are bound to disappear one day.
But my answer to that would be that, hey, we're already dealing with, when we call our cell phone company, when we call our
I
banking,
know,
like we're already dealing with, like, like this bank, TD Bank and the Royal Bank of Canada, like,
I know.
these guys have branches in India and Pakistan and the Philippines. People are picking up like the most confidential data that you can think of. These guys have uh, uh, people in overseas looking at these things, and here we are. We're still thinking that I feel that this is our own hang up on our side, that we think in our small group that like my client is not going to like that talking to somebody else from Philippines or Venezuela or Pakistan or India. But I feel that these are just a small business entrepreneurs
I'll say the
hang-ups.
the
It's
biggest hang up is more of the security thing. I
mm,
do get I don't get the accent question. I do get the how do I know that they're going to be seeing information about my clients, right? Social
yeah.
security numbers sometimes. How do I know that the information is secure? My response to that is, how do you know your employee physically sitting in your office isn't taking your social? Like, how do you know?
Yeah, yeah,
You don't know. You don't know if your very own employee or even your business partner is going
yeah.
and selling data. So you got to create like security measures and training, and but the fact that they're in Venezuela, does it make them criminals? No. Sin is everywhere in the world,
Yeah.
and you just got to create you got to create opportunities where they can't sin.
Yeah, you just give them that environment, that work environment where, it's just completely off the table or as much as possible. I feel you can do it more productively in a remote environment than even, face to face. So another example I want to quickly give you, like this client I'm talking to, and he's got a 10% team, all of them in the States, and he's like really down and out. And I'm like asking him, dude, what's going on? He's like, man, like my team, I'm so frustrated. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I got 10 people team. And this one time I asked, and this is not a cheap resource. I'm paying him 65 grand a year. And he's more of an entry level person inside his team. And I'm like, can you do this on top of your media buying task that you have? And the guy's like, and this young kid, 2 years out of the university, like, you didn't hire me for that. You hired me for this job role. This is all I'm going to do. Right. So those are other things like those, because especially when we're building out smaller teams, inside the US, very, very expensive, but B, how good are we at picking out those mindsets and these issues, are they going to turn into an issue? Because guess what, you're not going to be able to let that person go as fast and replace that out like you would with a company like mine or Alex's, where there's an issue, that person's gone. We have 2,500 other people who are waiting for the same opportunity. We'll bring in the right mindset, fix that problem, move on. But doing the same thing within your local team in the US, that guess what? That ended up costing you $100,000 right there, because that person is like 65,000. It's not working out. By the time you get him offboarded and find a replacement, you're already 100 grand in the hole. So there's lots of ways to look at this, but I think that the world is moving in a different direction. The bigger organizations have already figured this thing out. And, the sooner we figure this out as small business people and strategically bring in these team members, we're going to open up more cash flow. We're going to have better engaged teams, because these are the people who want to be there, who want to go all out. And they're not going to give you this excuse that, hey, this is not in my JD. I'm not going to do this, sir.
I don't know your full process, but in my company, our first step, of course, people call us for a certain position, right? So it's like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, cool, we got to get a job description and send that out, right? But we immediately shift the conversation now to what we call it a virtrification analysis. What
Mm-hmm.
does this mean? We go into your company and we see your org chart.
Yeah.
Okay, it looks a certain way, and then we recreate your org chart as if you were either 100% virtual or hybrid. Okay,
Mm.
and we even the org chart, we build it out with orange boxes, because our logo is orange, our colors are orange. So the orange boxes represent virtual team members, and the blue boxes represent your physical labor.
Hmm.
And then we present this report to the client, or at this point, they're still a prospect. And we say, look, you came to us for this one position, and that's great. We want to show you, we want to give you this free report. You know how like digital marketing agencies, they give a free report of like your SEO and your ranking.
Yeah.
Our version of a free report is your org chart redefined with a list of all of the potential people you can hire. And we give that as a free report to them. What does that do? It plants the seed.
Yep.
It lets them know that we're not just like a middleman in a staffing agency, but instead we're business consultants. We are organizational business processes consultants.
Yeah, recruitment consultants. And yeah, that's exactly, it's our process is not exactly the same, but it's very similar. That's the first thing we want to look out at your organization chart. And guess what? If you don't have any of that system in place right now, that's where we're starting. And it also gives us an opportunity to really lay down the law for them and give them a realistic picture. For example, there might be a client who wants to come in and hire a salesperson. And the first questions that we're going to ask them are, hey, show us around your sales process. How many deals have you closed? How many appointments are your current teams booking? Right? Like if they're not doing any of that stuff and you expect this brand new person to come in and start booking 5 calls a day for you, like, so
they don't even have a CRM. They don't even have a CRM.
Yeah.
And they want to be doing this stuff.
Yeah. So it's a good opportunity to just, because that's what you would be doing with a local employee. I would imagine so, that you would have some sort of training in place. You'd have some kind of a way of booking those calls in place already defined so that this person can come and train. Yet, sometimes people would expect the world out of these people who are, they think that we're going to hire a VA and all the problems are going to be solved. But the first thing you want to look at is obviously your current structure of your employees, the organization chart, and then what each one of the roles that we can come in and replace for you, what systems and SOPs and processes do you have in place so this person can come in and he has a fair chance at succeeding.
I agree. And it's our duty and our responsibility, especially if we want continuity of service, right? Because their failure means we don't get paid anymore. So I had to sit down with my leadership team a couple years ago, and I said, guys, we're doing this business all wrong. If we don't build out the training, the onboarding, and the SOPs for the client, you're basically now you're just relying on clients who already have that in place, which is most people don't. So it's no wonder we're seeing that, clients were lasting an average of 4 or 5 months, and there was a dropout on month 2. I'm like, this is happening because they want a virtual person. They're absolutely sold on the pricing, but they don't know how to manage these people. And it's our job as the virtual staffing agency to be more than just a virtual staffing agency.
Yeah.
We got to be business consultants. They talked about that last week last month in our retreat. Like, digital marketing agency owners, you're not just a digital marketing. You don't just handle PPC for your clients. You got to be business consultants to them. That's when they'll find their bigger value in you, and you stop becoming just another PPC company, but you actually become a consultant for their business because you care, you want them to grow. And we got to step into that as it's our responsibility. We are their virtual HR department. What does an HR department do for a company? They build job descriptions, they build SOPs, they do the hiring and firing and recruiting, they give raises,
trainings. They're responsible for retaining the people experience. They want to make sure people are getting paid on time and all of that stuff, right? You
We
want to,
are virtual HR departments for our clients.
yeah,
That's how I position myself. That's who we need to be.
yeah, we come in and plug in, and that's why it's so important to work with a company, especially when you're doing the global recruitment. It's imperative that you have a company like Virtrify or RepStack involved in the middle, because you're not on the hook all of a sudden. We've had that, man. Like, like there's so many stories, obviously, but this is one last one. I'm gonna ask you about your process of how you onboard a client. But before I do that, I want to share this quick story with everyone who's listening. Is Recently this happened. Like, this client came into our system, went through our discovery process, saw around and things like that, and then 6 months later I found out that we had one of our account managers, they kind of offered them on the side the salary and things like that. They took him over directly and things like that. Another ex-employee of ours, they took him over, and now they're running into issues because they just went directly, and now they're reaching out to us. Hey,
I hope it
how?
wasn't a 7FA company.
No, no, no. It's
Oh, thank
somebody,
God.
yeah, somebody who thinks who's really, really big, and but like apparently this company has 75 people, but the integrity they have is that they'll just go out behind you, they'll learn everything, and then they're offered the on the side to your own people. But that's you learn. But but now we were not involved. Now they're running into some legal issues with these hirings. And had we been involved, we have a team of lawyers in place. We have things that you can't even imagine, that how fast we'll do on the ground. You're not on the ground. You're going to have to deal with this situation very differently than how we would have helped you out with this. So that's the global thing. I want to ask you, what's the process like for a new client coming in? Given you explained some of it, just maybe if you can summarize it for us. How long does it take from when I come into your process, and how fast can I fill in that job role for, say, a marketing associate?
I could have someone up and running in 7 days. You know, would I want it sooner? Yeah. 7 days is the owner really needs the person,
Yeah,
right? Because you got other people that want a person, but so they'll take a little longer. It's normally on the client side, because I already said we got 2,500 people that want to work. So as far
so
as
are these people that you're placing from the pool, are they, you already hired them, or how is that going to work?
so in Venezuela, they go to a website called valocator.com and
Hmm.
they create their profile. So this is a Venezuela brand, right? It's still my company.
Gotcha.
But over there, they go and create their profile. So they put their experiences, their skills, right? So what does that do? It helps us have a database. Now, they're creating their profile because we promote VA Locator over there as a what do you call those? Employment agency.
Gotcha.
So when you go and you submit your resume to an employment agency, that doesn't mean you're getting a job. It just means now a recruiter has your resume and can present you to a candidate, right?
Nice.
So over there, we promote our website like crazy. Like,
Hmm.
do you want to work for a US company making US dollars? Go to valocator.com, create your profile. Then when they create their profile, they get the video training of how it all works, right? That this isn't a job, there's no guarantee, but the better that you make your profile, the more marketable you are, and the better we can sell you. So
Hmm.
that is a completely separate brand in Venezuela. And I had to do that because I don't know if you run into this at all, but like in Venezuela, I had to use my same Instagram account to try to get clients, but also to try to get VAs. And I was using one brand to try to manage both, and
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't working. So
Mm-hmm.
I split off and I said Virtrify is the B2B brand. That's the
Hmm.
brand that my US clients see. VA Locator is my B2C brand. And that's the brand that wants to help you find a US job. So our mission in Venezuela is different than our mission in the US. And I
Hmm.
separated those two brands, which is why I have 2,500 people waiting around for work.
That's amazing, man. So that basically means that as soon as you have a requirement, you go to run it through your database, shortlist a few people, give the option to the clients, they interview, they onboard within 7 days.
And
And seven,
priority is given to a virtual team member who got let go from a client, right? Because not all clients succeed. They go bankrupt. They got to
yeah,
downscale, right?
yeah,
So now you've got these amazing employees who know
who
so
already have
much.
experience.
So they get priority, right?
Gotcha.
Because we want those people to plus they're more marketable.
Yeah, they
So,
have more experience. Like
and we
we
trust
like
them
we
more.
if we have an offboarding for an associate, we usually have them placed even before they come back into our training department. They're like before they switch on job, like they already have the next contract ready to go because there's so much in demand. But
Yeah.
also, we're going to leave our audience with this fact. I did some ran some numbers a couple months back, and the average time it takes to onboard a marketing associate in Tampa, Florida, for example, is 33 days right now. So if you were doing it yourself or with a local recruitment company, that's how long it's going to take you. And with a company like Alex's, 1 week we can have it done and dusted and ready to go. So there's lots of advantages. Alex, thanks for coming up, man. How can people reach out to you?
Yeah,
Virtrify.com.
Alex at virtrify.com. Some people, their needs are they want to target Hispanic people. They need a bilingual, person or whatever. Those are a lot of the clients that we have here in South Florida. The surgical coordinator needed to know Spanish, brother, right? Because she's coordinating surgeries for a doctor in Miami.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
need to know Spanish.
Yeah.
So again, you got at least for me in South Florida, which is the base of my my clients, or the base is here in Florida. It's a big plus. So I know that's one of our differences is that we are all of our people they speak Spanish first. And so that's I'll leave your audience with that.
Sounds good, Alex. Thanks a lot, man. It was great talking to you, man. We can probably go on for hours and hours, but we'll leave it at this. Check out Alex and his company, Virtrify. It was a great pleasure meeting him in Miami this month, actually, just a couple of weeks ago. And can't go wrong, especially when you're looking at, like the people that Alex has, like in multiple different businesses and bilingual. A lot of people come to us where they have requirement of Spanish speaking, and we don't have that right now. Alex does. So there's lots he brings to the table. Just the passion you can see is amazing, and it's just invigorating talking to people like Alex who have passion. Even though we're in the same field, it doesn't feel like that we're
Mm-mm,
competitors.
mm-mm.
It's great knowing you, Alex,
Thank you,
and
brother.
we'll talk to you real soon, my man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
All
Thank
right. Bye bye.
you. Bye.